weekly. This is going to be a weekly show. We talk about electric vehicles, what we drive, what we like about them, any news that we have on the vehicles. Of course, just so everyone knows that super thanks and super stickers are very helpful and help help this channel move along and be able to get some of these vehicles to test and test drive and bring these to you guys. And any super chats will be prioritized, so they will be answered first. So I'm going to go ahead and get started in on the news again. And so here we go. We're going to talk about the Ford Lightning this week. This week, the order banks opened up, which was great news for everybody who had reservations. We've been waiting for 6 months or so since they closed them for the 2022s. So now the 2023s are coming out, and we're going to get a chance to order them. But they also hit us with increase in pricing. So the increase in pricing was across the board on all trims, starting with the Pro model getting a $7,000 increase. Now on that $7,000 increase, that's with the standard battery because you can't get the extended range battery. Now on the standard battery, what you did end up finding out was that we got 10 extra miles of range. And how they did that 10 extra miles of range is that they added heated seats on all the standard range battery trims, whether it's a Pro, XLT, Lariat, whatever it may be. So that extra, adding those heated seats, they were able to reduce the load on the HVAC system, which then turn gives you better range because you're getting better efficiency. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Xlt Extended Range was and got an increase in price of $8,500, which actually pushed it over $80,000 and takes it out of contention for a tax credit if this new tax credit gets signed by President Biden. Now, they did also add in 2 more colors. So you get Avalanche Gray and Azure Gray. The Avalanche Gray is an older color from 2016 that is similar to the Lasfit Gray. I think it's a little bit on the lighter side than that, closer to the white. So it's kind of a whitish gray. But it did look really nice, and there are some pictures out there on a 2023 Ford Raptor. If you look that up, you'll be able to see those. I was going to have some pictures to put up here, but I wasn't able to get that arranged right now. The Azure Gray is more of a bluish gray. And that one looks pretty decent. It looks like it might be just a shade darker than the Area 51, or a little more on the blue side of the Area 51 color. The other thing that they did was they did a removal option for the bed scales in the Lightning. So, but that removal option is actually required. So it's an option, but it's not really an option. It is required. You cannot get bed scales in the 2023 Lightning as of right now. They are using those chips in other places to actually help produce more trucks out. I guess they figured that the scales were not something that was extremely important. So they just decided to use those chips somewhere else for the time being. I believe that if chips do get a better supply of chips coming in, then they'll probably open that back up later in the 2023 or something like that, and be able to get the bed scales if you want, but still have that optional removal. Because they gave it as its own little tab as an option, but then inside the tow package, it says that it's required. So I think eventually they may offer that back up. The other thing they got rid of was AM radio, which really, does anybody use an AM radio anymore? I mean, occasionally you will if you listen to some talk radio and stuff like that, but with the EVs, they've pretty much gotten rid of the AM radio, and a lot of it's because of they say it's because of the electrical interference, but it's more because everyone is using other means of digital radio. So if you want to listen to a podcast or something like that, generally you can use Spotify or any of those other, other streaming media things. So they decided to just not have that as an option on there. And the multi-contoured seats that are in the platinum trim level, they have gotten rid of those also. So those will not be available. And let me think. Was there anything else? Let me think of anybody else. Anybody got any questions on any of that? No? Okay. We'll move on here. I'm checking to see if there's any other issues with. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we will move on now to the Autonomy. Now, Autonomy is a subscription service where you can actually use a car just like you can get a car just like a rental car per se. So you would actually get this as a subscription, and you would pay a monthly payment to have that car. So I would assume that it's by the month. I don't know if there is some agreement to where it's like almost like a lease, like a 6 month or 8 month or 12 months. But the way that it sounds is that it's just a monthly subscription service that you can drive a BMW i4 for 3 months and then just decide, well, I don't want to pay, $780 a month to drive this car. So you take it back and say, I want a Volkswagen ID4 that may be $560 a month. And you just go down and now you just take an ID4 and you drive it for however long you want to drive it, and you take it back and you can change it back in for a different one. So it's kind of neat situation. Now the thing is though, it's relatively new. So I'm not real sure how well it's going to work, but it's going to work well enough that they ordered 23,000 EVs from 17 different automakers. It's a total of $1.2 billion worth of EVs, which just is crazy. I just don't understand how a startup company like this can all of a sudden just have billions of dollars to just buy all these cars. Now, we know that a lot of these EVs they're not going to get these anytime soon. It's going to be a while before they're able to get these. But, we'll see what happens and see how that works out. It'd be interesting that, if you want to try out a car before you go buy it, you could go get that specific car maybe and drive it around for a month. And it might, you might spend $600-700 a month on it, but I do believe that it includes all your insurance and everything in that. So it's just like having a rental car, basically. But then you try the car out before you go buy it, or put an order in for one. Or if you have an order in for a car and you're waiting for one, but you want one now, so you have an order in for a BMW i4, and they tell you it's going to be 9 months. Well, maybe Autonomy would have a BMW i4 that you could basically do a subscription on, and you could drive it for 9 months until yours comes in. Then you just turn it back in and get in your car and go. The downside to that is you're paying out a lot of money a month, and the car is not yours, and it will never be yours. So you got to look at it whether you think that's worth it or not. So, and then we're going to move on to some tax credit issues. So we know the new tax credit came out, and it's already went through the Senate. It made it through the House, and now it's on President Biden's desk. Now, there's a lot of things in that tax credit that I know a lot of people don't like. There are some good things in there, like they did keep the $7,500 tax credit. They are going to eliminate the $200,000 the 200,000 production from manufacturer limit. So that's going to be going away. So then GM and Tesla can still take advantage of this. Also, Toyota was getting ready to hit their limit, and Ford was getting close to hitting their limit. So now all this is going to be opened up to everybody again, which is great news for everyone. But some of the issues that were coming into this were that the vehicles had to be built in North America. So now, like the ID4, they're opening up the Tennessee factory in Chattanooga, and they're going to start producing those there. So they're going to be okay, possibly. And then you've got places like the Fisker Ocean. Fisker, it's being built in Austria, and it's got to be, so that was going to take them completely out. Then you have the price caps on the vehicles, so it can't be over $55,000 for a sedan. So that's basically the Model 3, which means I think it's the Model 3 long range rear wheel drive is the only one that's going to qualify for this new tax credit. And even the Model Y, I believe, is priced, depending on pricing on it, I think it's up there right around the 80,000 mark. I think. I don't know. I haven't looked at that, but saw somebody else had said that it wasn't going to qualify under that 80,000 mark. So that also, your Model S, your Model X, those are all gone. So this, so then that $80,000 cap on the trucks, the vans, and SUVs, that was going to interfere with Rivian. So that was going to be an issue there. I just talked about the Ford Lightning. So the XLT high package with the extended battery that you had to pay an extra $20,000 to get anyway, they added $8,500 on top of that. So that pushed it into like $82,000. So you can't get the XLT with the extended battery. So that took that truck out. It also took the Lariat with the extended battery out. So the only thing that qualifies for the tax credit for the Ford Lightning is the Pro, which is a standard range battery, the XLT standard range battery, and the Lariat standard range battery. So you want the extended range, you can't get it. So what they ended up doing was Fisker let their reservation holders convert their reservations into a binding contract. So it turned into a non-refundable down payment, and that gave them a purchase agreement technically. But the only problem was that they had to choose a trim. So they had to choose whether they wanted the Sport, the Ultra, or the Extreme. So I think a lot of people were kind of waiting on that and weren't really sure whether they wanted to do that or not. And some people missed out. And so now people are upset because they were early reservation holders and they aren't going to get a chance because they only had a limited number of each trim level going to the United States. And each country has a limit. So that's kind of the Sport and the Ultra were sold out very quickly pretty much before the end of the week. And that left the Extreme only as a choice, which is a $70,000 vehicle. And that's it. I believe that it's well worth it. But a lot of people were banking on getting that Sport model. And, they're not going to be able to get it now because they waited too long and didn't reserve when they could have had a chance to reserve. I had a lot of people reading that a lot of people were having problems that they didn't even get an email or a notification. I got an email saying that you were going to be able to do it at this time of day on Sunday. Now, I never got an email, and it said something about a follow-up email would be available. Well, I never saw a follow-up email. I just went to the website, and when I went to the website, under my reservation thing, it said order now. I ordered and just kind of chose my Ultra and moved on. And it said, congratulations, you're getting an Ultra. Got an email confirmation. So I think a lot of people may have missed that early email, or maybe it went to a spam folder or something. But I would guarantee that Fisker sent that out to everyone in the U.S. anyway. Now, a few days later, Rivian did the exact same thing. Rivian let their let their reservation holders convert. But I think they only had to convert over $100 as a down payment. I think there's probably some type of wording in there that had to be a certain dollar amount. I'm not sure what that would be exactly, but Rivian apparently just told them their people that they only had to put $100, turn $100 into a down payment. So that was two little workarounds that Rivian and Fisker are trying to do. There's no guarantee on whether it's going to work or not. So some of the other issues with that tax credit was the battery components and what's in them, the minerals, and what they're made of. So it has to be 40% of the minerals have to be from the United States or countries of free trade. And then the other part of it is the battery components, and those have to be 50% of the battery components have to be from the United States or from countries of free trade. So that's going to really put a bind on a lot of these manufacturers because, like the battery maker, which is one of the largest, is cattle. And cattle, they are from China. And that is outside of the United States. And there's probably no components from the United States in those batteries. There's probably very few EVs out there, if any, that are going to qualify for these battery requirements. The only person that I can think of that I know has been making batteries, I believe, was GM with their Chevy Bolt and the Bolt EUV. I think that they had been producing their own batteries and putting in there, but we also know the situation with those. What happened with those? They were catching on fire and burning stuff down and telling people don't park your car in your garage and have to replace all the batteries. So it's like, are any of these cars, any of these vehicles going to qualify for this tax credit? And is it possible that Biden may not sign it? There's always that possibility that he may say, no, I'm not signing this like this. I don't know if he can actually put in a referendum saying, giving an extension to all of these manufacturers to get their batteries started to be built in the United States. Give them, 3 years, give them till 2025 or something like that to try to get this stuff moving and get stuff moved around. Because I really don't think that any of these manufacturers are going to be able to do anything in January. And it's going to mean nobody's going to get a tax credit, which is crazy. Why put a bill in there where nobody could use it? It's not very, very good, very efficient. So the other thing that I think is going to be a little bit of an issue is that I just don't see any of these manufacturers being able to produce these cars for under what these dollar amounts, these cap limits are, and people to be able to afford them. It just really doesn't make sense. The cap numbers on here are really low. The other thing one thing that did help a lot is the used tax credit. Now, the used tax credit, you're going to get $4,000 off of a used EV as long as it's under $25,000, and I guess it's 30% of the cost of the car, up to $4,000. So now you get these, and these used EVs, they have to be at least 2 years old. Well, there's not going to be any 2-year-old EV that's going to go for $25,000 unless it is a Chevy Bolt, Nissan Leaf, something like that, which are cars that are not as desirable as some of these others. Having a 2-year-old EV that even has 30 or 40,000 miles on it, it's still right now going to be worth pretty close to what the MSRP is on it. So I just don't think they've thought this out very well. I don't think this credit's going to work very well in anybody's favor. To start, the only thing that is in the favor is America. This is set up to, be from America, support American companies and manufacturing and all of that stuff. And I think that's great. That is an awesome thing, but it's really going to damper things for the next few years because they're just not going to be able to fire this up right away. So I did get a comment over here. Carlos says he's looking to purchase his first EV, and it feels like all the manufacturers are increasing prices for no reason, which makes the tax credit not effective, and once again, making EVs not accessible. I do agree. I agree that a lot of these manufacturers are raising their prices, and you said for no reason. They have a reason. I don't think may not be a very good reason, and we may not agree with the reason that they do it. But some of these vehicles actually were underpriced for what they offer, like the Rivian. The Rivian, I've driven that truck. It is an amazing truck, and what it can do is quite amazing. And everything that's in it, and they were starting those prices out at like 70 or 80,000. That, in my eyes, was $100,000 truck, and I believe that's why the prices increased so much, because they did have some restriction, but what that truck could do and could offer. Now it's not for everybody, and a lot of people are going to be like, "Yeah, I'm not going to pay $100,000 for that truck." You may not. You may not pay $100,000 for that truck because to you, a lot of that stuff that it doesn't matter. But for those people that that truck is going to be perfect for, they will pay over $100,000. And the dealership that I work with, they sold like 7 of them or something like that. They have 2 at their dealership right now, and they're both listed at around 116, 100, $119,000, and they haven't been having problems selling them. So like Rivian's was underpriced. Now, the Ford Lightning, yes, the $40,000 truck, that was probably underpriced, but that's what everybody was looking for, and they delivered it. They couldn't keep it at that price, and I understand they probably were not making any money off of that truck. But some of the price increases, like on the XLT trim and with the extra battery, raising it up $8,500, that was ridiculous. I don't agree with that. You're already requiring you get the tech package that goes along with the battery, which was then causing it to be a $20,000 increase to get that extra battery, after telling everybody it was only going to be $10,000. So I think that was wrong. They shouldn't have raised that price at all. And I haven't seen too much. I know Tesla's raises their prices. They do theirs incrementally. So like they'll do it about 2 or 3 different times throughout the year at smaller dollar amounts, so that people just don't seem to notice that it just went up $8,000 or $10,000 over the course of the year. They just noticed that it went up a couple thousand here and a couple thousand there. They are getting out of range for a lot of people that could really use the benefits of not having to buy gasoline. So that is where I see the downfall to this. But when you've got supply and demand, and there's a lot of demand right now for the EVs because of the way the gas prices have been, and they aren't being able to produce as many as are desired. That's where the problem lies. And now the manufacturers are thinking, well, we can just get a little more money because people are just going to keep buying them. Now, there are some EVs that are going to be coming out very soon. It'll be in a better price point. I believe the Chevy Equinox, that is supposed to be priced at around $30,000 entry level. So you figure your high spec trim is probably going to be pushing 40 to 45,000, but your base model will start out at 30,000. And if you check on EVs and you look at a lot of EVs, you get a lot in the base models compared to a internal combustion engine. Those, you get a base model, you sometimes don't even get electric windows, pretty much everything has electric windows now, but there's a lot of tech features you don't get in base models on internal combustion engines that you do on EVs, because all of those tech things help with the efficiency of the car. So you do get a lot more out of the EV base models. You've still got your Bolt EUVs and your Nissan Leaf. The Nissan Leaf will be being phased out here probably in the next few years. But as for the Bolt EUV, I see it sticking around. The regular Bolt may not stick around real long, especially when they start bringing out these the Chevy Blazer EV, the Equinox EV. Ford, as far as I know, don't have any plans for any like Ford Edge EV or anything like that. The last I had heard was an Explorer and the Lincoln Aviator. I think they were working on converting those to EV. You got the Cadillac Lyriq out there, but yes, that is already priced at like $70,000. The ones that we haven't heard from yet, it really is Stellantis. We've heard that the Dodge Ram EV is a thought, and that they were talking about 2024 with it. And the cool thing about it is going to possibly have a range extender that you can add on or may come standard with it. From what I understand is that it is a small engine that will recharge the battery, that you can just turn on and it'll recharge the battery as you're driving and give you more range. So that's a pretty cool feature. I can't imagine it having a very big gas tank because you don't want to add that extra weight. And what's the point of having an EV if you're going to carry around, 10 gallons of gasoline? So I'm guessing it's probably only going to have like a 3-gallon gas tank in it. Probably something similar to what a lawnmower would have. But that's about the most I would expect out of that. But Ford is also working on a range extender that kind of looks like a box for your bed, your toolbox that goes on the right behind the cab. It looks similar to that, and it would be integrated in. I don't know if it's going to run off of an engine or how it's going to be. I don't know. Maybe it's going to house an extra battery that you can tap into, kind of like we used to have those to the little switch that would switch from the one tank of gasoline to the other tank of gasoline in your bigger trucks and vans. So that's always a possibility also. So I was going to talk about some of the other cars that that we've previously driven. Now, before our ID4, we never had an electric vehicle, so we've learned everything we know on this ID4. It's been a great car. Haven't had any major issues with it. The infotainment, it has its glitches, but it's nothing to not want to get the car for. Other than that, the seats are great. We've never had any problem or complaints about not being comfortable in the car. We've never had any major charging issues. Sometimes, it wouldn't be charging fast enough and we might move to another charger, or the Electrify America just didn't initiate the charging at first and we had to unhook and rehook. But most of the time, never had any major issues. Never had to leave and go to another stall or anything like that, or go to another place to get electric. So overall, Volkswagen ID4 is a great car, especially to learn on and to be your first EV. Those prices are pretty decent. They haven't really raised their prices too much. I think maybe a couple $1,000s at the most. But they do have the new smaller battery coming out, and that's being produced out of that Tennessee plant. And that battery is supposed to have like a range of 208 miles. So if you are someone that lives outside the city and you work in the city, it'd be perfect for that. Is it going to be great for long trips? Probably not right now. I think that's a little bit low on the mileage scale for that, because it's 208 EPA. That's a mix of highway and city driving. And if you put that out on the interstate, going 70 miles an hour, even though the battery is, that technology is a little bit better efficient, a little more efficient than what probably ours does because it's a few years newer. even then, you're still going to be looking at maybe 180 miles just because you're driving at 72, 74, 75, however fast you normally drive. Faster you drive, the less range you're going to get because it's less efficient. So it's probably not going to be the best thing to go be taking on trips, but it would be perfect for people that live outside the city and work in the city, live in the suburbs, that type of thing. It would be excellent. And that one's going to start out at 38,000. And that one should be able to take advantage of the tax credit depending on the battery components and minerals that are used in those batteries that they're putting in those. So if that is the case, then you're looking at a $32,000 car, which will take you 200 miles. So that's pretty good. I think there's also the Hyundai, I think, Kona EV or Nero, the Kia Nero EV. Both of those, I think, are rated at between 2 to 250, and I think they're probably right around the same price as the ID4. So you're looking around 40,000, but I haven't really seen any major increases on those. So yeah, some increases probably are warranted, and some are probably not. Like I think I saw Lucid raise their prices like $12,000, and I'm like, I'm not gonna. It is why your car is already $150,000. So why would you increase it another 12,000? I just don't get it. Don't understand it. Would never buy one. I'd like to drive one, but I'd never buy one. So really, you just got to find the ones that fit into your budget and that work the best for you and what range you need, not range you want. Because right now, everybody thinks they would need 3, 4, 5, 6, 700-mile EVs, and it's not the case. You don't need that. You need to look at how far you drive on a daily basis and get a car that fits that need. That's all you need. You don't have to have, if you are planning on taking trips, if you know that you take trips 3 or 4 times a year or once a month, and you're going at over 300 miles or 500 miles on that trip, as long as your car will get you about 150 to 180 miles on a charge, you won't have a problem finding a charging station. There's plenty of charging stations out there. There are probably about 15 different types of charging stations out there, or brands of charging stations. Most of your fast charging is going to be done by Electrify America and some charge point places. But other than that, most of them are going to be level 2 after that. But you figure if you're stopping halfway at a hotel and spending the night, then hopefully look for a hotel that has an EV charger, and then you can just plug in and charge it overnight. And that's one less stop that you have to make to charge. So you just got to plan it out a little bit more. But other than that, I think you can find some decent EVs at a decent price, but just get what you need, not what you think you want or you think you need to have. Well, if there's not any other questions about anything, there's not much more we can talk about. If you guys want to see the Ford Lightning, I've got a video on my channel on the Ford Lightning, and I've got one on the Rivian R1T that I've had taken on test drives. Hopefully, the next time Shannon from EV and Chill, they will be able to join us. They had a little bit of an audio issue and wasn't working out real well, so we will try that another time. Brian Becker says, I have a chance to buy a Demo Pro for $20,000 markup. Should I do it or wait for my reservation and order my own in 3 years? So you do have a reservation on, are you saying that you do have a reservation and you don't think you'll be able to order for 3 years? If that's the case, there's a chance that in 3 years, I don't think the Pro is going to go up $20,000, but I think some of the other trim lines, everything could increase that amount. If the Pro is equipped how you want it, okay, you don't have a reservation. Yeah, see, that's going to be an issue because I really think that one, not having a reservation, yeah, it's going to be 2025. Yeah, by the time you get a chance to order, yeah, 2 to 3 years probably. 2025 is what I would say, and then I think the 2025 is when they are planning on um, uh, revealing their new architecture, their new chassis, and everything that all these new EV trucks are going to be built on from Ford. So then there's probably going to be a reservation process with that too. They're not just going to probably roll over from your standard F-150 EV that we have now and roll it into this brand new architecture and everything, because pricing is going to be so different on that. Hopefully the pricing is not too different, but I think when that happens, I think they're going to do another reservation thing. So that's going to be probably 2020, late 2024, maybe early 2025. If that they're still on pace for that, they're probably going to open up reservations for that also. The other option that you have right now is to maybe put a reservation in on a Silverado, but I know that one's gotten pretty high and it's probably going to be pushed out a couple years. For trucks, that's really about all I could tell you. You just have to decide whether that $20,000 markup is really worth it to you. I would shop around. You might be able to find some other places that will sell their demo. You might even be able to put a hold on a demo for when it actually comes off of um, the demo program, and maybe you can get that for a little bit cheaper. So I would call around and see who has what and what their markups are going to be. Um, that's probably your best bet. But yeah, it's really just going to depend on whether you feel that $20,000 is going to be that $20,000 is going to be worth it or not. To me, I have a reservation, so we'll be able to order in September. Which I guess I could kind of talk about that. If anybody doesn't know, the way that the ordering is going to work on these 2023 Lightnings is the ordering banks opened up on Thursday, and the or Thursday the 11th. And what happened is all of the people that extended their reservation from the for orders at the beginning of the year. We know the Pro sold out like within the first wave, and the XLT went in somewhere between the second and third wave. I think somewhere in that range. That one disappeared. So the people that decided to extend their reservation because they want a Pro or they want the XLT, they will get first option. So on the 11th, those people should have gotten emails inviting them to order their Pro. And then 2 weeks later, I think somewhere around the 23rd, I think it was, if I remember right, they will invite the next group that want to order an XLT, and then they will get to order their XLTs. Then around mid-September, they will open it up for the next wave of reservation holders, just standard reservation holders. So that would be anybody who did not pass on it earlier or has not put an order in yet. So we're looking at September before the rest of us get a chance to order. I think I'm a little high in that list, so I should be getting an invite in that first wave. If not, then it should be in the second wave of that. So later this fall, I'll be able to get mine ordered. The other thing is that the 2022s that have orders but have not been converted to a build yet. They haven't ordered, but they haven't. It hasn't been turned into a build yet. Those will stay at the 2022 pricing, and they're going to schedule all of those 2022s, as many as they can, and the ones that they can't squeeze in, then they're going to convert those over to 2023s. those people that get converted over to 2023s, they will not be subjected to the new pricing. They will get the old 2022 pricing. And those that extended their reservation earlier in the year to get the Pro and the XLT, they will also get what Ford calls special pricing. Now, from what I've understood, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to get the 2022 pricing, but there's been other reports that sometimes when they do these special pricing things, they actually offer them the difference in accessories. So I don't know exactly if that's how it's going to be. Other than that, I think we're going to be wrap things up. Like I said, we'll try to get Shannon and EV and Chill on here another time. But for everyone that did show up, thanks for being on here. I appreciate it. And anybody who's watching on the replay, don't forget to go click subscribe and click like. And if you if you appreciate and you get some value out of anybody's videos that you watch, if you'd like to support them, give them a super thanks if you're watching their videos. And of course, there's also super stickers and stuff like that for live streams, super chats if you want your question answered first. But otherwise, I had a great time here. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next week.